Okay, so now we have done the installation and setup, and we've seen how to open the Blockly code in VS Code. So now we're going to do that again. So this is just Visual Studio Code. I'm going to take the Blockly intro project, which has all these subfolders here that we cloned. And then we're going to start with the first tutorial. So the first one is a very, very simple language. We can have a look at this language here. It's basically just a simple block that says, that allows me to say how many times I want to say some greeting. So it's basically a bit of extended hello world. Then this is the workspace where we're going to drag the blocks, and then there'll be some code that will be automatically generated from this, and potentially there might be error messages that would also then appear here. So let's move that here. This automatically generates some code, display hello. If we increase the number of times, then it adds here this repeat some number of times, display hello, and then of course we should also put maybe world, and then it says repeat 6 times, display hello world. So this is like a pseudocode language, and we can also stack these blocks. We already saw this language, but now we're going to look at how this language is implemented. So first we need to define the block, and yeah, we should probably open the project where we have this block defined, and that's this hello block. So what we could do is we could actually open this folder also as the main project root, but yeah, we don't really have to. We can open it like this. And then we see, yeah, we could actually open this, open folder, and then Blockly intro, and then we're only going to open this. Yeah, so that's now our project, the project that we're looking at right now. If we want to run it, we can, we did that in the command line. We can also do it here. We can say new terminal. So it might be shown, might not be shown. Let's maybe make this a bit larger. So then you see the new terminal here. And then if you remember, we did an npm install to download all the dependencies. Well, this is up to date, no changes since we did it. So npm run dev. This will allow us to deploy our local version of it, and then we can open it in a browser. And that's our local Blockly language, right? The other one you see was deployed on our web server, but this one now is the one that we're actually editing. So let's close this one to not get confused, right? The first thing we need to do is to have the block definition, and here it says there are different ways to do so, and I linked the developer documentation. That's a really nice comprehensive documentation that comes from Blockly. Blockly recently moved to the Raspberry Pi Foundation from Google. It's still an open source project, but the documentation is currently hosted at Google. I'm not sure whether that's going to stay like that. They might redeploy this documentation somewhere else, right? So just be aware that those links might point to some other place. But yeah, then it says ways to define blocks. So we can do it with JSON or JavaScript. And the way we're going to do it is here. There's already an example here, right? We're going to do it in this JSON style because it's a declarative way, rather than programming it by basically calling methods on setting up the blocks. But both is fine. We're going to do the JSON way, which is more common now, and then later we will see how to extend it using the JavaScript way. But we're going to focus on the JSON way right now. And in the code, this is basically a way we organized our projects. We have this hello block project, and then there's a source folder, and there's a blocks TypeScript file. And in here, we are defining this block. We call it greeting, and then we're saying say, and then we do this strange %1 and then a hello %2. So let me just translate it to German. Sag sometimes my, yeah, something like this, right? This is now I saved it, and it should automatically update on our local running web server. Let's have a look. Sag, yeah, einmal hallo. So this kind of works, right? But now you see it still prints this code here in a strange way. That's not really what we wanted, right? So what we're editing here in this is just the label. So that's just what this message 0, that's just what's printed on the block. And then how we generate the code from it, that's a different story. So you see this mismatch here. Now it says here the stuff in German, and down here it still generates the code hello instead of hallo. So we will see how that code generation actually would have to be adapted as well. Yeah, but that's now the block definition. And then these percentage signs here with the numbers, they basically are placeholders for different arguments that this block can have. And the arguments that we're going to use right now, they are fields. So we see here that that's one field and that's another field, but we have to declare them. So this field is name times. We can give any name that we want. So we could also say mal. Let's stay consistent maybe with our German translation. How many times we should do that. And then you see there's something really odd. We're not getting code generation anymore. We broke something. And that's because these fields here that we defined, they are used internally. The names are used internally, for example, by our code generator. This one is called subject. This is both an input field. This is an input, and this is a number input. And the tutorial will list some, where did it go? The tutorial will list the places where we can find other types, right? So this one is the number field, and there's a kind of a reference documentation here, how this number field works. We have like min, max, and so, but that's linked, somewhere else. And the tricky bit is now that we broke our code generator and we don't really see how, right? If I change it back to times, let's see if our code generator works again. Yeah, it works again, right? And so we kind of broke it in some place, and we don't know how. So let's maybe that's a good debugging experience. Let's keep it changed and try to figure out what went wrong, right? Here we don't really see anything, right? And it says errors may appear here, but that's actually only the errors that the code generator produces if we actually do error handling. So there is usually in the browser you have, when you want to debug something, you could go to more tools with developer tools. And then let's see, are we getting any errors here? Let's refresh this. Doesn't look like anything is wrong, right? But why don't we get errors? Not sure. We probably should be seeing some errors. We don't. Often you could use this to figure out errors. Here, yeah, looks like it might not work. So something is wrong with our setup, but we can see where this is wrong because the code generator basically tries to access this field, which we know we named. But yeah, we will look at the code generator later. What we still need to do is after we defined the block, we defined here for the number, we can define values like the default value, then the minimum, the maximum, and what precision it should use. So if we do precision 10, then we can only give it in steps of 10. Now that we have this, let's try to enter a number that's larger than 100, so maybe 199. And then we hit enter, and then automatically resets it to 100. Or let's do -5. It automatically resets it to 0. So it always makes sure that the value we add is within the range given. We can do 5, that's fine. Okay, now after having defined the block, that's very simple. We have defined this block. We say that there can be previous statements and next statements, and we don't give the types. So we could give the types of the previous and next statements and then restrict who can, what can be attached, right? This previous statement and next statement basically lets us get these indents here, right? We can have a previous statement attached to it, and we can have a next statement attached to it, right? If we wouldn't have that, then there would not be the option to connect these. Now that's the blocks, but after defining those blocks, we still need to set up a workspace. So the workspace is the stuff that we see on the website. And how do we do this? We have to first load our definition of blocks. Now we are in a different file. Now we're in the main TypeScript file. So let's go there. The blocks, we defined the block. Very simple. If we do more blocks, then we will just put them inside this array here. In our main file, we are importing the blocks, and then we are calling this define blocks method, which basically just executes this and defines our blocks. And then we're creating a workspace by saying blockly inject, and then we're telling it what element in the web page to connect to. So because it's a web application, there is some HTML web page. Blockly div will be part of that. So that's the index HTML, and there's the blockly div. So it's basically just attaching to this thing, right? This thing just lives there. It doesn't really say how large it is or anything. Well, it does say how large it is here, but how it's filled, this is what we do here. We're basically saying inject into this div a toolbox, a flyout toolbox. That's a toolbox that basically shows all of the blocks that we add. And now we're saying we're adding the greetings block. We have to define the contents of the toolbox, right? We defined the block, but defining the block doesn't add it automatically to the editor. We have to say we want to add this block to our editor. So that's by listing the content here, greeting. Now, if this was misspelled, then we should have trouble opening our editor here. Then we don't have a toolbox, and then we actually do get error messages here. It's going to complain invalid block definition for type greeting because it can't find it, right? So if we fix that, and we're still running in the console this npm run dev, so it's automatically updating the web application here. If we fix it, then we have the toolbox, right? So there's our toolbox. Now we add the workspace, and then we can already start our application and see the new block and create programs with this new block. That's this HTML page where it's basically linked to this block div, and then there's this module. We're basically executing the main TypeScript, the one that we just looked at. So this one we're basically executing when the web page is loaded here. Okay, so that's how we define the block. And then in the next video, we're going to have a look at how to define the code generator.